Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with our development process. The first thing we'll do is we'll enable the user registration in the Okta dashboard, and then we'll configure the code in our login component. Okay, so let's go ahead and just log into our Okta dashboard, and that's using the account that we've already created. So in my example, I have Demo Darby. And then here I go to Users and then choose Registration. And so we'll move over to the top right corner here and I'll click on Edit for this registration section. And so we see that self-service registration is disabled. We'll go ahead and enable it. And then also make sure that this checkbox is selected to show the sign-up link. We'll go ahead and keep the other defaults here for this section. Moving down to registration form, we see the label they'll use for email, for password, and some of the other items. And I'll just go ahead and keep the defaults here. Moving down to post-registration, we see this area here for activation requirements. And so this is where you can enable or disable the activation requirements. And so remember I said earlier, mandatory activation, that's good when you go to production to make sure they have a valid email address. And then the optional activation, that's good for dev. So you're testing, so you can make use of fake email addresses or test email addresses just to kind of test things out. So it's really up to you which approach you want to use here. But I recommend mandatory for production use. And then also we have this default redirect, basically saying once they log in, then this is the actual URL that we'll send them to. So we'll make use of our homepage URL, localhost 4200. And then we'll go ahead and save these settings here. Okay, great. Everything is set up at this point. Let's go ahead and sign out of this account. And now what I'd like to do is just kind of switch over to my IDE and go ahead and take care of the coding work. So I'll move down to my source app components, to my login component. And I'll open up my login component.ts. And so what I need to do here is just add an additional configuration in my constructor when I'm creating this Okta sign-in widget. And so I'll add this entry here for features. And I'll have registration true. All right, I'll just kind of highlight this for a second. So this is the one entry here that you need to add for this portion of coding. So let's go ahead and test this application out. So the first thing I want to do is make sure my backend code is running. So swinging into IntelliJ, make sure our Spring Boot app is up and running. If not, go ahead and start it now. Swing back into Visual Studio Code and go ahead and start my Angular app. All right, so I can swing into my web browser now. And what I'll do is I'll open up a new incognito browser or a new private browser just to make sure I don't have any previous sessions out there. I'll go over to my Love to Shop application. I'll choose this login button over here. And so in this case, I want to sign up a new user. So I'll kind of move to the bottom here and I'll choose sign up. So that's nice. We have this feature enabled now. And then I'll simply go ahead and enter an email address. And so I'll just kind of play around with a test email address or a fake email address Snoopy@lovetocode.com. I'm just totally making this up right now because we're not verifying the email address here. And now I go ahead and register this user. Okay, great. So now this user is registered in the back end. I can go ahead and sign into the application here. So I'll enter that same information, Snoopy@lovetocode.com. All right, so now I'm successfully logged in. And if we swing up to the top right, we can see, welcome back, Snoopy Darby. So we know that this user is really stored in the Okta system. So this is great. I'm really, really happy about this. But I always like to kind of verify things, right? Double check. So let's go ahead and log out right here. And let me kind of zoom back down for a bit. And I'll actually just log in with my regular account. So here I'm going to log in as my original developer account, my demo@lovetocode.com. That's the one that I created when I set everything up at first. So not the new account, but the one that we've always used before. All right, so I'm logged in as my demo account. I can go into users, people, and I can see the list, Demo Darby. That's the one that I started with. And then Snoopy Darby. Great. So that's that new user account that was just created. Awesome. And then I can go ahead and check on the profile for this account and I can see the information, Snoopy Darby. So this is great. So we were able to allow our users to register themselves and they could do it automatically by setting up those configs that we created a little bit earlier. So this is great. Good job.